Have you ever felt like there's more you want from life, but something inside you keeps holding you back? You have dreams, you have goals, you have aspirations, you have things you want to create, you have a voice you want to share, but as you attempt to make progress, thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I don't know if I have what it takes, why would someone listen to me, I'm too old, I'm too young, they begin to fill your mind, and before you know it, they become the very thing that keeps you stuck, that is limiting you and preventing you from being able to live a more meaningful and purposeful life. They keep you trapped in this endless war within between where we want to go and the fear of leaving behind what is familiar and more comfortable. If you relate with this, then this video was made for you, because I'll be breaking down the reason why we so often struggle with our mind, how these thoughts and patterns are formed, and why these voices are so convincing. And I will end by giving you a key that completely changed my life, a mental shift that has helped me break free from this internal struggle and move past the fear that was holding me back for so many years. I want to welcome you to this channel. My name is Tiago Raposo Santos. I'm a psychologist with over 14 years of experience working as a therapist and developing leaders within organizations. My mission in life and with this channel is to empower people to become everything they are capable of becoming, and to raise a new, or to help raise a new generation of trustworthy leaders, leaders that are impactful, that are influential, but by being both competent and human. So let's start by imagining, okay, that when we are born, it's as if we are born on a book. Our brain is a bookcase, okay? And in science, we usually discuss between, are we the result of nature, nurture, or both, or a combination of both? So there are different theories, but I personally believe, based on my own experience and what I've been working, is that we are a combination of both. Okay, so we are the result. So behaviorists, they tend to look as we are just the result of nurture. So it's behavior, reinforcement, and punishment. Okay, I believe that we are born with certain potential. That's why we can see different people at different ages where they were not even exposed or incentivized to do certain actions, but at like 2, 3, 4 years old, they are already able to do outstanding things, because that's part of the nature. God has placed those seeds within themselves, and all of us, this is my personal belief, we all come with different capabilities and hidden treasures that we can then use and cover by reinforcing, by training, by exposing, or not, okay? But I want you to understand that our brains, when we are born, they are not coming with an understanding of reality and the world, okay? We are not born believing the things that we believe today, okay? They are, whatever we believe today, they are the result of direct experiences, indirect experiences, or learnings, what we read or what someone taught us, okay? So, for example, we are not born knowing and believing that if I touch a hot oven, I will burn my hand, and that's no bueno, okay? We learn that by either direct experience, I touched, I get burned, and I learned that my brain then updates itself and creates a new book on my bookcase telling, if I touch that thing, then I bruise myself. No bueno, okay? So the result is don't touch. Now, I can also learn by seeing my mom, my father, whoever is my caregiver, by touching that thing and burning or hurting themselves. Okay, so I don't need to be always involved in direct experience in order to learn or to develop a more understanding of the reality. I can just see someone or witness someone doing that. Okay, now I can also, another way, or the third way, is maybe I never touched that, maybe I never saw someone touching it, but if my parents or whoever is in society that is taking care of me and tells me, yeah, if you touch that, you are going to hurt, then you shouldn't touch. Don't touch because that's going to harm you. Then my brain will update and develop this perception of reality in the same way. Okay? So I call this the mental script. Okay, so these perceptions, they become the filters through which we understand the world. Okay, we are today, everything that we believe, everything that we look at the reality is the result of all these different scripts that over time, all these books in our bookcase, in our shelf, there are different books that through direct, indirect, or learnings we developed in order to make sense of the world. Okay, in psychology we call these perceptions beliefs. Okay, and these beliefs, they filter the reality, and they start to influence our thoughts, our emotions, our behaviors, and even the meaning and the experience we have in life. What I mean is, if I believe that if I touch this thing, this is going to hurt me, then this thought and this perception, this belief that now has a specific meaning will influence how I feel, right? So if let's say that someone is forcing me to put or pushing my hand towards that place, I'm going to feel fearful because I have created this mental model telling me that's going to hurt me. Okay, so whatever are the current mental models that you have, all these books in your bookcase, they are going to influence your life. And the most common scenario that I get in all my sessions are people that want to do certain things in life, but they haven't updated. They are still running based on old mental models, based on programs that are not suitable to what they want to create in life. Okay, and I'll give you an example, but I want you to understand that in essence our brain works very similar to how AI works. Okay, so AI currently, at least, it works by you feed a huge amount of information. Okay, so it has access to all these data points, and then it starts to create connections between different sources, and these connections then form hypotheses about the future, and based on the stronger it is a connection, there is a higher chance that will occur. Okay, and our brain works exactly the same. Is I touched this, I got hurt, so therefore the mental model, the script is, if I do the exact same behavior, the exact action, the likelihood of occurring the same thing is high. So that will influence my emotion, saying that whenever I'm attempting to do that thing is going to prevent me. I'm going to feel a certain emotion. Okay, so the meaning and the belief that we hold about everything in our life will dictate how we feel, and how we feel will dictate what we do, and what we do will basically create our reality. Okay, this is basically the core model of cognitive behavioral therapy, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. C stands for cognitions. Okay, so basically our thoughts. My thoughts will influence my emotions, and how I feel will influence what I do. So the problem, and I'll give you a specific example. So let's imagine that your favorite food and your favorite place, okay? Let's say that it is pizza, okay? And you are going to that restaurant, you love that place, you love that pizza. And as you start to take, you are eagerly waiting for that pizza. And as you open the box, it smells really good. You pick the pizza, you pick one slice, you start to eat. And as you are eating, you notice that beneath the cheese, they have fly or cockroach. You feel disgust. You feel like gross. Ugh, take this out. Okay? And I want to ask you, what do you think will happen for the next time that you want to go to the same place? How will you feel? Will you, even eating that pizza, will you be okay just eating the rest of pizza and removing that part and then continuing? Probably not. Probably you feel just disgust and you feel like, I don't even want to come to this place anymore, like, or even just the thought of pizza will annoy you, okay? Because now, based on, you may have had a lot of different previous experiences telling you that, or showing you that it was safe and that you really enjoyed, but then there was one that was terrible, right? So now you have one that is really bad. And your brain just updates to now also include that new model in your brain. So that means that now every time that you think about something that you used to enjoy a lot and the place that you used to like a lot, now you are not very sure about it, okay? Why? Because your mind updated itself to now include this new experience, okay? This is exactly what happens in traumatic experiences, okay? Is our brain now keeps filtering reality through this new mental model. Now, in this case, usually what happens is you either stop eating pizza or you avoid going to that place. Now, let's say that you want to move to, it's something that is really important for you and you really want to move to eat pizza again, go to that place, okay? So now, because our brain has something called negative bias, which means that it will prioritize anything that is negative way above that something that is positive for obviously survivability reasons. Now, if you want to replace this new book in your shelf, you actually have to create a different meaning. Okay, so if your thought if your thoughts remain the same, your emotions will remain the same, like gross, whatever, and then your behaviors will be like, I'm going to avoid that place, I'm not going there anymore, etc. Now, if you need to change if you really want to get over it, you need to change how you see it. You need to start believing, maybe it was just one thing because I had been going there for many years and nothing ever happened. So you kind of have to rationalize and intellectualize, give a new meaning to that same experience if it's really important. But then just giving a new meaning is not enough. And that's where I think some branches of psychology kind of fail, because then we need to link also with actions. That's why I really like ACT, or acceptance commitment therapy, because we need a new perception, a new meaning, but then we need to link to with actions, which means now I need to go to that place and I need to eat more pizza enough times that my brain now updates itself to collect enough evidence that, okay, that was just one time thing and it's not going to happen again, okay? And what happens is then we start to feel at more ease every time that we are coming to the same place. Okay, so in essence, our brains work pretty much like these AI models, where we are always collecting new evidence, new experience, and based on those experience, we are then updating we are forecasting what's probably going to happen. Now, the problem is, first of all, the things that happen to us don't necessarily mean that they will happen again. Secondly, let's imagine that someone told my parents, whatever, told me something that is not correct, or at least is not applicable anymore, okay? Because we are all human beings, and again, something that my culture or my parents believe doesn't necessarily mean that is true, right? But if I don't double check, if I don't verify, if I don't update with new books, with new mental models, what happens is my behaviors will be ruled by these mental models, okay? Now I'll give you a quick example. Especially in corporate environments, when I'm working with leaders, I get many leaders that we nowadays commonly call them the people pleasers, like people with people pleasing attitudes or tendencies. And people pleasing, in essence, in a nutshell, is just someone that created a mental model that in order to be loved, in order to be accepted by their parents, by their caregivers, they had to please them. Okay, they did not feel comfortable enough to express their authentic self in order to feel loved. So what they learned, the mental script that is guiding and directing their behavior, is based on, I need to please others, I need to subdue my own desires and will, and prioritize my father, my mother, whatever, in order to be accepted, in order to receive attention, in order to be loved, in order to not be punished, whatever. So now, as an adult, when they are managing people, they are still being run by this whole framework, by this whole model. So let's say that they have to communicate someone, and this is very common. Let's say that an employee has been coming late to the workplace for like 2 weeks, and they can't tell them, or they struggle so much to have this honesty and sincere conversation with John, saying, John, like, I've noticed that the past 2 weeks you have came to the office always 30 minutes, 40 minutes late. What's going on? Why are you, what's happening? Is it something happening in your personal life that is contributing to this? Is it the workload? What can we do in order to prevent this? Because basically, if you keep doing this behavior, there will be this consequence which I'm trying to avoid, but I need to understand what's going on. Okay, like they often struggle because in their minds, if they have this honesty with care, because the idea is not to be just brutally honest, right? Usually we confuse telling the truth with saying the truth in a proper manner. But the takeaway is they struggle to say and to put boundaries to people because in their mind, they are being run by this belief that if they tell them the truth, they will not be loved, they will not be accepted, and basically they can't stand that, okay? So our beliefs, and they are these windows, they are these filters that condition our life, and they condition even our experience of life, okay? And based on that, there is a social psychologist called Milton Rockish, and he was studying beliefs, okay? And he found out some interesting things. He found out that he categorized into 5 different types of beliefs. So Milton. Okay, so type A, type B, not E, B, type C, type D, and type E. Okay, so type A are considered, they call them primitive beliefs with 100% consensus. Okay, so primitive consensus. Type B, primitive beliefs with 0% consensus. Type C, authoritative beliefs. Type D, derived beliefs. And type E, inconsequential beliefs. Okay, so type A, primitive belief with 100% consensus, are the type of beliefs that we hold about ourselves, about the reality, about the world, that are shared with other people. And the further they are from type A, the harder they will be to be changed. So the more peripheral they are, the easier it will be to change these mental scripts, the books in our bookcase. Okay, so type A, I believe that my name is Tiago Santos. Okay, I believe that the sun comes up in the morning. I believe that I'm recording this video. Okay, so this is a type A. This is something that is really, really, really hard to change unless I have like a memory problem. Okay, and they are also shared with other people. So other people confirm to me that my name is Tiago Raposo Santos, that they confirm me that I'm a psychologist, that they confirm that they are shared with other people. Type B, they are usually what we call them the core beliefs. And they are 0% consensus because they do not need to be, they are more internal. They are these assumptions, these convictions, these beliefs that I hold about myself that don't necessarily need to be shared with other people. And I'll go into more depth into this one. But for example, things like these are usually where we connected with our self-esteem, how we see ourselves. Okay, so yeah, I'm intelligent, I'm not intelligent, I'm smart, I'm not smart, I'm beautiful, I'm not beautiful. Whatever is the belief that you hold about yourself, they are usually type B. Type C are authority beliefs, which means who do I trust? Type D, derived beliefs, are beliefs that originate, that come from those authority figures. Okay, so I have someone that I trust and they believe certain things, and now I'm also believing the same things because I trust this person, right? And the E, they are called inconsequential beliefs, and because they are personal tastes, and they are the easier to change. Personal taste, things like I like this brand, I like this shampoo brand, right? But tomorrow I can find something else that I enjoy more, which will be easier to change my opinion. But today I want to focus more on type B, C, and D. So type B, primitive beliefs with 0% consensus, they are called also core beliefs. And they are the beliefs that we hold about ourselves, how we view ourselves. And again, they are formed based on not only our direct and indirect experience, but also based on type C, okay? And before moving and going into more depth into type B, I want to give special attention to type C, because, and this is also the reason why I'm so passionate about leadership, because everything originates based on the authority figures that are leading us. Because again, as I showed, we are not born believing the things that we believe. We were exposed to certain key people of influence over that were guiding our lives, and what they believed and what they told us about ourselves and about the world made us not only believe what we believe about ourselves, so type B, but also adopt certain beliefs that they believe, so that would be type D. Okay, and I'll give you a personal story that I think will encapsulate and will explain more what the relation between these three. Okay, so when I come from a family, when I was like 2 or 3 years, I have an older brother, 6.5 years old, and when my parents and basically my grandmother, like my grandparents, pretty much everyone around me, every time I did anything, they would always compare my achievement or my difficulty doing something with my older brother. So they would say things like, at your age, your brother could already do X, Y, and Z, like all the time. For example, the first time he said like a word, I believe he had like around 9 to 10 months. I started to speak when I had nearly 4 years old. Okay, but that's not only it. What happened was they kept reinforcing every time that I was trying anything. I would basically hear, oh, your brother at your age could already do X, Y, and Z. Oh, only now you can do this. Like your brother could already accomplish that, like when he was like 2 years before you. Okay, and what that made was that I started, based on these authority figures, based on in my life, I started to believe them. So I started to believe that I was not intelligent. I started to believe that I wasn't good enough. I started to believe that I'll never reach anything special, because basically my brother was top class. Like, let's say, during the school in Portugal, there is a period like high school and such. Our grades is between 1 and 5, and basically was top of school. Like he had 5 in every class, and I was a good student, like having fours, multiple fours, 1 or 2 5s. So it's not like I was a bad student. It's just that my brother was so good, and the problem is that my parents were constantly like, even if I had the 5, at least my mother was constantly like, oh, yeah, you had the 5, but the other grades, the other subjects, like they are lacklusting, like you should have had more. And something that especially my mother started to do was, she was very aggressive every time that I was short of acquiring a certain grade that was basically the best. So I remember very, very vividly that every time I was doing my homework with her, I would just freeze in intense fear, because if I struggled to give the right answer, or if I took long enough to give the answer, she would just slap me. And that started to create such an intense fear. Like I still remember vividly, like if it's now, my panic every time I would have to either tell my grades to my mother, or just have to go and do homework with her. And as a disclaimer, I'm not saying this trying to demonize my mother. I love her and I'm very grateful for what she did for me, because it made me understand how our psyche works. And basically she was doing her best. Again, she was also struggling with her own battle. So I love my mother. We have a fantastic relationship. I'm just telling you the truth, what happened. And the reason why I'm so passionate about leadership is because I know that those that are leading us, if they inject fear, if they don't believe in us, if they keep punishing us for our mistakes, for our shortcomings, what happened is we start to develop beliefs, core beliefs about ourselves and about our capabilities that will limit us. So as a consequence, and by the way, what happened in my family is that my brother was always considered the smart one and the most intelligent, and but in opposition he was very he's way shorter than me. He had he's kind of chubby. So like my brothers also struggled because they were always comparing him to with me in terms of looks. So he was considered the smart but the ugly, and I was considered the pretty with green eyes and not chubby, etc., but dumb in essence. Now the problem is, and this is kind of like a side quest, is that when you develop your self-esteem based on your looks or solely on your looks, is that whenever you lose that, and that's a guarantee, then you don't have anything to hold. But also, when you bring your self-esteem by your looks, it's also something that you did not earn it. Like, I did not do anything to receive green eyes. It's just God gave him, right? I did not do anything to have these genetics, okay? So whenever we are not, when we accomplish and when we are recognized on things that are not connected with our own efforts, that's a very shallow and shaky ground to be building your foundation, okay? So what started to happen was, especially when I was going to school, every time that I created this core belief that I was not intelligent. So every time that I was invited to speak, every time that I had to say something, it was an opportunity to be exposed to my own dumbness, to my own insufficiencies, okay? So that started to create a huge amount of anxiety every time that someone would ask me a question in public, and I had to communicate in any type of public endeavor. I remember I would just try to hide myself behind someone and kind of praying that I would not be selected to speak or to give the answer, because my heart was just pounding. I could not even bear the possibility of speaking. So over time, and then obviously as I started to mature, I went through a period where obviously, especially in adolescence, like my beauty was completely vanished. So now not only I was dumb, but I was also ugly. So there was nothing solid that I could hold on. I was dumb. I had no success whatsoever especially with girls, and even my peers, the other guys, I was not very athletic. I was not very skilled playing football, which was kind of the popular thing back then. So again, it was very tough, and it created in me this huge social anxiety. I started to withdraw from people. I started to withdraw from environments that would expose myself, and basically that was for many years my way to cope with all these fears and with all these beliefs. Okay, so type C, my mother and my parents, in a more broadened sense, they created me this belief that I was not intelligent. And now, because those were my thoughts, my emotions match, and my actions, my behaviors also match, the CBT cycle that I explained earlier. So long story short, I start to move, and now you ask me, okay, but you are a psychologist, like, what's going on? Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, like, probably 12 years ago, 10 to 12 years ago, I was not able to have any sort of conversation that was in a public endeavor. I could not pick a phone. I could not even speak on a phone. I could not pick my phone and call someone else that I did not know. I could not even go to the supermarket and ask for something, like, because I would just feel this huge amount of panic, this huge amount of anxiety that would freeze me. I went to psychology, and basically most people ask me, oh, but why did you go to psychology? And they are expecting that, oh, I wanted to help people and blah, blah. No, like, I was just, like, quite frankly, I was divided between going to engineer and psychology, because those were my best grades, mathematics and psychology slash and philosophy. But the reason why I went to psychology is because I was chasing a girl. Like, that's the truth, guys. And the problem is, I went to psychology chasing after her, and she basically chose someone else in that in the college. So lost. But that's life. Anyway, it was then, and probably you guys are expecting me to say that, oh, okay, but then you learned when you were in psychology, when you're taking your classes, how to overcome that. Nope. And I had a huge problem, because I noticed that in order to pass any subject I had to basically do two things. I had to go to deliver a written to go to a written exam, to pass that exam, and then I had to also deliver a group to present a specific topic, or to basically have a group working on a topic, and then we had to deliver that to our class. I could not speak to anyone. I could not speak to like, it was so bad. Like, you guys have no idea. But I found something. I found that if you fail the first trial, then the second one, you actually can deliver a written project, an individual written project. So I did not have to deliver into the public presentation. And that's basically how I did 5 years of psychology. 4. I did not show up to the classes. I did not show up I purposefully missed the first part where I had to deliver the project and present them. I would just show up on the exam day, and I would just deliver the written project as well. And I did 4 years like this. The fifth one, which is basically the fifth one is the masters. It's when you complete the masters, and you have a dissertation. You have to deliver a public dissertation and a public presentation of this topic in a huge auditorium, to, like, the highest figures in that specific field. I completely froze. I completely panicked. Like, just the idea of seeing that auditorium and having to speak in front of all those people were completely, like, it was impossible. So what I did was, I panicked, and I said to my mother, like, oh, like, the last year is very hard and my topic is very complex, so I'll probably need another year to complete this project and so on. Like, it was a lie. It was not truth. I was just running. I was just with so much fear that made me run from that moment. Now, as I was basically, so I avoided that, but the problem is that then it gave me a short window of relief, but then after a few months I was back in the same problem, right? Because now my mind was still projecting that I was going to die, that no way I could do that. But in that moment I had to make a decision, because this was the 6th year, and I was either going to fail whatsoever and to give up my dreams, my aspirations, or I would have to basically face the demon. I had to face the adversary. And I did not really believe that I would be able, but what made me, and this is completely true, what made me able to go and to face it was because I did not want to feel that I had been wasting my parents' money and time just because now I was a coward and running away from this ordeal. So, and that was the only reason why I decided to, okay, Tiago, like, there are things you want in life, and in order to get those things in life, you need to speak with people, you need to be able to connect with people, you need to face the things. How are you going to be a psychologist? How are you going to find someone to connect with people if you can talk with them? Like, okay, so I decided, okay, I'm going to do it. And guys, like, you have no idea, like, my heart was pounding so fast. Like, if I could just disappear and vanish, definitely I would do it. But I went, I delivered my presentation, and after 45 minutes or so, it was done. And that's where everything completely changed. That's the key that I want to tell you guys. In that moment, I understood, I realized that all those years that I was believing that narrative, that story in my own head, were telling me that I would basically die, that I would not be able to do it, and so on and so forth. So my imagination was creating such a catastrophe that my body was responding to that narrative, but my imagination was not the truth. What happened in reality is that the reality did not match my imagination. It wasn't as bad. Yes, I was very, especially in the beginning, I was very anxious. I was not comfortable, but I did not die. I did not end up losing. Like, after that moment, I still had a place to live. I still had my parents. I still had my friends. I still had my animals. Like, yes, it was uncomfortable, but I did not die. And also, I uncovered something, which was, I noticed that, especially after the first minutes, I actually enjoy it. It was like, like, it was terrible in the beginning because I was expecting all these terrible things to happen, but then part of me enjoyed the process. But then I also realized, even if it was terrible as I was imagining, after 45 minutes it was done. So I had been waiting and delaying and having 2 years of anticipating this terrible thing that would occur, when in fact, if I had just went to it after 45 minutes, it was done, and I need not to think about it anymore. So, and that's when I realized, that's when I unlocked this new perspective, that my mind is just projecting and creating scenarios that are simply not truth, or at least the likelihood of being truth is very small. And that's exactly what I was explaining in the beginning. Our mind, based on our past experiences, creates these mental models that is now projecting that something will occur in the same fashion, just because we are more highly tuned for survivability. Our minds will start to overthink and to increase massively the likelihood of something bad occurs, because it's trying to protect us. So that's why we are constantly in this internal struggle between, I want more from life, I want to go to that place, I want to X, Y, and Z, but then my mind is panicking. My brain does not want that, because in order to achieve that, it requires a new set of beliefs, a new set of things that I need to download and to uncover in order to be able to achieve those. And kind of the analogy that I usually give when I have some people is that in my sessions are, people come at me and, like, imagine you have the iPhone 5 or 6, but you are attempting to use the apps that are from 2026. What do you think will happen? it will not be possible. Like the apps will not open, or the phone will crash, right? And that's how we live our lives, based on our experiences, based on what we experience directly, indirectly, based on what our culture told us, based on what our parents told us, based on what happened throughout our adolescence. We develop these mental scripts that now we are 20, 22, 25, 30 years old, and we are still operating, we are still behaving with the primitive, with these old software, with these old programs, and we are expecting, we are trying to accomplish certain things in life, but we are still operating with a very outdated model. That's no bueno. And that's where this mental friction will start to occur, and that's why you so commonly often hear that our mindset is the most important thing, because it is, because the mindset basically is mindset. So where are you setting your mind, and where you are focused, where you are focusing your mind, and what you are believing, where you are projecting that, okay, that's where I want to go. But probably you will have to update these whole structures that are outdated and are preventing you from becoming who you want to become. And I believe that there is a verse that really encapsulates this whole story and this whole narrative that I am telling you guys, which is Romans 12:2. It states that do not be conformed by the pattern of this world, but be transformed by renewing of your mind. And in a nutshell, what I feel with this verse is that we may not be able to change our past. We may not be able to change what we went through, our experiences, what we saw, what we heard, but we can decide to change our future. We can decide to renew our mind with new sets of values, with new beliefs, with new models that are not connected with our past selves, but are now updated and reforged to help us become who we want to be and where we want to go. And that's the only way that I found throughout these years in order to develop and to break free from this internal struggle, is to update, is to be aware that what happened to me and what I'm currently feeling and experiencing does not need to limit my future. On that day when I delivered that public dissertation and I was able to face this battle within myself, I decided that no matter what was the context, I would not let fear decide my life. I would not let fear and my mind that is prioritizing survivability dictate my future. Because if I let my brain dictate my future, I will be surviving and not growing. Because in order to grow, we cannot be operating and behaving based on primitive, outdated, old structures. Because remember, we will never outgrow the belief that we hold about ourselves. But the good news is that we can learn new ways. But to learn new ways, we need to dare to go beyond what is currently known and where we feel safe. And that's what I'm going to cover in the next video. Guys, now you know the reason why so often we struggle with our minds, why we so often feel limited and imprisoned in our own minds. And in the next video, I'm going to show the exact process that I did in order to go from crippling fear and huge levels of social anxiety to someone that is now living and earning his life by teaching other people soft skills, communication skills, and being and communicating in public endeavors. Guys, I want to thank you for your time watching this video, and I want to ask you, comment in this the comment section, what are the most common limiting beliefs that you experience, and what are your coping mechanisms? What do you do in order to cope with them? See you in the next video. Bye.